We're recording.
We have to redo the YouTube though.
Yep.
Thanks,
It's
Kenny.
at least working now. I gotta just open up YouTube again.
I'm right next door.
Do you feel like everybody's watching you?
Would you like me to bring a microphone up here so that?
Oh, that doesn't.
Usually, yes.
Yeah, that
I
doesn't.
can do that. That would.
Thank you.
Yeah. Glad you noticed that. Thank you.
We're still going from before. Oh.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Oh, me or brother, I can stand. Click, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay, electrical problems. So we will open the meeting up with public comment on any subject not on the agenda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Ravendall, citizen, Broadwater County. I just got to bring up a couple of points that I'd like to make sure that we at least have on the front page here as we move forward into 2021 here in Broadwater County with our local government meetings. On the agenda of March 8th, 2021, I was unable to be here or to participate in any way, so what I did was I took, I will say, advantage of the policy where I was able to put in some questions and some comments on the agenda items to be included in that process. The meeting went forward with public comment, recognizing that I had sent that letter of interest and participation in via email, and that was the end of it at the public comment period. None of the questions that I asked were raised during the discussion period of the agenda items, and I must give recognition and a thank you to Commissioner Folkford for giving me a response on those questions, even though, and I must emphasize, even though it happened 4 days later. The decision was made at that commission meeting on those items that are of concern not only to myself but a lot of my friends here in Broadwater County, and there was no discussion on those points of interest. So that is in essence something that we've dealt with, and I will go back, and I'm not picking on you, Commissioner Folkford, but when you took office, that was one of our major problems, was these open meetings and making sure that our agendas and our whole program, barring technical difficulties, was improved on for the participation level of the people guaranteed under the Constitution. Again, the questions never were presented at the meeting. The response I got from Commissioner Folkford via email certainly did address in part the questions, but the questions never really have been answered, even though it would be moot at this point because the decision was made on those items. The next meeting, again, barring technical difficulties, those are understandable, the unforeseeables, if we use that term. I've used it in logging, et cetera, in my business ventures. The unforeseeables, you have no control over that, and I understand that, fully appreciate that. But on the meeting of March 15th, I was tied up personally as a citizen, very interested in an item that was on the agenda for 11 o'clock. And when I got to town and was getting ready to participate in that process, unfortunately, the meeting on the 15th adjourned at 10:13. Skipped right fast forward, eliminating my opportunity to participate. Again, unforeseeables, earlier parts of that meeting were kind of left on the table because of cancellation, and that speeded up. In the past, Commissioner Fulford, when he was chair, again, I'm not picking on you, sir, I'm just bringing back some of this information so we can build on it. When we get into a situation like that, it's standard practice. Let's go ahead and recess until that time slot comes up. We can't just sit here all day long waiting for something like that, but it's a fair process for everyone to participate in. The mask policy, I will just end on this. I want to thank you guys for not beating up on me today so far for not wearing a mask in our meeting, because your new policy that was adopted says that it was not a problem as long as we have social distancing. And it's to the discretion of the officer in charge of the meeting, okay? So that would be you, Mr. Delger. If we have a problem with me participating without a mask still to this day, we need to make sure that we don't just beat this up and move forward. But at the same token, I really do make sure that I have a freedom of choice as well. So with that, I would like to just close with saying, as we move forward in 2021, let's keep this in mind, that don't keep doing the same thing over, expecting a different outcome, because it's going to just continue causing problems for not only myself, but a lot of people. And last but not least, again, I am here as a citizen of this county. I will not get into the First Amendment freedom of press side of things, because I do wear that other hat as well, which is on the table. But I just want to make sure that I brought that up today, and I will thank you for your time this morning in public comment, and I will be out of your way here now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, so we'll move on to our 10:05 discussion and decision, Bill Jiraki contract for budget counseling.
Morning, Bill.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good.
I say congratulations, Debbie. First time I've seen you in this board. I hope you're having a good time so far. I'm Bill Jiraki, and I run a company called Voltaic Solutions Montana. I'm a public finance consultant. I'm going to take my mask off. Is that
Yep.
okay? And my experience with the county has been to work with you all and the previous board on the public safety budget, which I think we resolved favorably last year. And I think that when we were going through that process, there was an opportunity to look at the entire Broadwater County budget and to have me offer advice and perspective on that. I've been involved with local governments for about 45 years. Previously, I served as the executive director of the Association of Idaho Cities. I was the deputy director of the Association of Indiana Counties, and I currently work at the Department of Revenue, where I'm a project manager. And so I do consulting on a part-time basis at a low fee, because I really love local government and I want to help. As far as the budgeting process in Broadwater County goes, and what I'm willing to offer is a professional outsider's opinion and perspective on the budget, and to offer advice for recommendations on decisions that you may be able to make to improve both the process in the short term and in the long term. The budget is really made up of two significant parts, the revenue budget and the expenditure budget, and they have to be looked at critically and separately. And then all of that information is brought together for decision-making purposes. And that's what we did with the public safety budget successfully, I believe, and I think there may be opportunities in the entire budgeting process for the county. Budgeting's not a static process. It's an art and a science both. This year, the county will have opportunities that they have never seen since the days of federal revenue sharing, and that is monies coming from the stimulus acts to local governments throughout the country. We don't know what those allocation of dollars are exactly yet, or how they can be used and how they should be used, but that's an added benefit that you have this year that you should consider for short-term purposes. When I put together the contract, there's a section on purpose and scope where I talk about what I'll do for the county. But I want to just ask you to consider what your goals are for budgeting, what your goals are for the budget process, and what your philosophy is on budgeting. If you've been involved in local government for any period of time, you'll notice that different governmental units will have budgeting philosophies. You hear about things like zero-based budgeting, program performance budgeting, incremental budgeting. Those are all philosophies of budgeting that are applied to the process for a particular reason. I do not know entirely what your goals are, and that's what I think we'll have to further discuss before I put together a very specific work plan. My idea for helping you is to establish those goals, establish your philosophy, and then lay out very specific work plans going forward. I intend to minimize my time working for you. When you're paid by the hour, it's tempting not to, but because I have a life to lead otherwise, I want to minimize my time and minimize your expense. At the same time, I want to give you as much value as I possibly can. And so I'm happy to be invited to present the contract document. It is very similar to the document that we use for the public safety budget. I cleaned it up a little bit, and it's in draft form. So what is not completed, who signs it, who I report to, that kind of thing. So I'm happy to stand for questions, and again, very pleased to be invited to participate with you this year.
All right, great, Bill. Well, thanks for coming down. We do appreciate it, and we're looking forward to some different insight into our budget this year. And one thing that we talked about and was the community budget committee. Do you still feel that we should do that?
I love the idea of a completely transparent budget process, and I think that the citizens in Broadwater County need to be involved. I don't know exactly what the nature of that involvement would be, but a citizens advisory committee would be an outstanding idea. This county has changed over the last few years. There is development occurring. The budget for the future needs to probably be different than the budget process that you've had for the past. I think the more people that we can have involved in the discussion, or certainly to be aware of what is being proposed, the better off we're going to be. It does take a little bit more time, but I think it's worth it.
I think we have kind of kicked that off a little bit, and what would you think would be a fair number so that it doesn't get too complicated?
It depends on how we're going to meet. My guess is that in the short term, we probably want to have Zoom meetings or Teams meetings that could be arranged so people do not have to assemble, depending on what your rules are on health and safety. As more people get vaccinated, that'll change over the next couple months, and more people can meet in person. I'm happy to meet in person. I've been vaccinated, so I feel like our level of safety is much better than it was. Certainly the first meeting should be a face-to-face meeting, just like this one is, so people can be familiar with me and you and what our course of action is going to be. And then
we can meet as often as necessary to meet your deadlines on the budgets. So we're probably starting a little bit late, but see if we can make up some time in that process. The ideal number, to answer your question, I would think would be about 5 to 7 people.
Really? Okay.
See if you can get as fair a representation of interest as you possibly can. And if certainly, once your committee is established, having an open invitation for others to observe, participate, comment would certainly be worthwhile.
Okay.
I think citizens advisory committees are useful and important. So.
Janae, did you get a copy of this contract?
I just received it this morning.
Okay,
so,
here, actually, here, you can take one of these if you need one.
I have it
Do you have-
printed off
okay.
in my file.
Okay.
So I was just gonna let you know, I just received it this morning. I have not had a chance
Right.
to review the contract yet. I would normally ask for about a week to do this, but I know we don't have a commission meeting next week, so I guess I would ask if we could re-look at this on the next commission meeting, so I
Yeah.
had a chance to review the contract.
Right. And I think that would probably be our suggestion. We knew we didn't get a chance to get that to you in time, and so, but, okay.
Put it on that April 5th, I think it is. Yeah, April 5th agenda.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to return for that meeting if you want,
Okay.
if you need me to.
Yeah, we'll just let our legal team look at it, Bill, and
I'm sorry?
we'll just let our legal team look at it and make sure
Oh.
that, but I,
Yeah.
from what I've seen of it, it looks
Yeah,
fine.
please add to it. It's in draft. I can send you an electronic copy if you send me your email.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have your email. Before you leave, can you get me,
Yeah, my email's on the proposal.
is it on the proposal?
Yeah.
I just missed it?
Yep.
Yes, it is. I have it.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have any particular questions?
Well, I guess, I mean, you answered some of them for me, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Debbie.
I'm new to this. I don't even know the questions to ask yet.
Well, as the executive board, you have, you're the policymakers,
Mhm.
and you're the executive team, and you get to decide, just like the governor does for the state of Montana, what the direction of the budget process is going to be. We've had, in my case, we've had governors that have taken an incremental approach on the budget. We've had governors that have wanted to hold the line, and legislative bodies that have said they wanted to review every aspect of governmental operations before they move forward. That examination is worthwhile to do for all of you if you haven't done that before. And until you get into the budget documents that we've used in the past and interview the various programs, operations, departments, you really don't know what all the opportunities are. But I believe, from my experience, I've never seen a situation where you cannot identify additional revenue sources or efficiencies on the expenditure side. We get set in our ways, we really do. My job at the department, running the project management shop, is to examine how we can do our job better. And so we solicit ideas from throughout the agency. We have 600 people in the agency. We're always talking about how to change workflows and processes and using technology, but not always technology. Sometimes it's just a matter of how we do our work that we want to change that actually saves us money. Any dollars you save obviously can be used for other purposes that you desire. So sometimes when you think you don't have the resources, you may find out that you do. It is controversial sometimes. Other times, your staffs will welcome the opportunity to be able to comment on what they're doing and how they could do it better. So that's what I want to talk about when we talk about philosophy and goals. you probably should do that before you hit the advisory committee, and then turn that over to the advisory committee and say, this is the direction we want to go in. So I'd be happy to facilitate that discussion with you. I know it'd have to be an open session, since we want the entire board to be there. But it's just like setting up a mission statement, you know, goals and objectives. Once you set that, then everybody can get involved and under that banner.
I think that's a great idea. You know, I think we all realize that right now our county's growing kind of exponentially quicker than we thought it would, and we need to. We're trying to do the best we can to prepare for that. We know we can't stop it, so we're trying to be proactive, and this is one reason.
The thing I'm interested in along that line is you're going to see a delay. And we talked about this with the public safety budget.
Yep.
We know that we have additional property tax dollars coming in because valuation is being added. There's a delay in that. So having a long-term view of your revenue picture will really help you out. And then planning your capital expenditures, which I believe you'll be using the stimulus dollars for primarily, capital expenditures, those kind of things, planning those out into the future will really be useful for you. You have an operations budget, you have a capital budget. You have basically operational revenues, and then you have other opportunities for revenues that are one time that you should take advantage of.
Yeah.
Everything's leveraged for your future and for sustainable county government operation.
The other thing too, and hopefully we'll know here by the time we get heavy into this, is that legislature has a few tricks up their sleeve at the moment that they're that could potentially impact us. And
yeah, they do. More ways than one, us too.
Yeah, right.
So we're still, as an aside, just for your interest, I'm in charge of implementing the recreational adult use marijuana initiative, which is probably going to become a piece of legislation. It changes every day. Knowing what we have to build in the agency, what we have to do is really interesting. But I can also watch legislation for you. So we track bills, and I can work with MACO and give you guys some more specific information. Once we're engaged and I have your endorsement, then that'll help me with the Montana Association of Counties.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, I don't have anything else, but once again, thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, next up, Decision Community Development Planning, Nicole Brown, Bridger Brewing West Minor Subdivision, request preliminary plat approval.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
You should all have your documents there. I think we verified that this morning. You have your findings of fact and order report. There's also an addendum to the application, 2 pages. Top says Bridger Brewing West Minor Subdivision Addendum Zoning Clarification. And then a third item, Appendix H, variance application form. And you have your submittal books there. So if you're ready, I will read over the findings of fact and order report. This is the findings of fact and order report for Bridger Brewing West Minor Subdivision. The date of application was August 31st. The date of sufficiency is February 9th. The review period will end March 31st. The applicant's representative is Alpine Surveying and Engineering, and the applicant is Fubar Holdings. This proposed subdivision is situated off U.S. Highway 287 and Wheatland Road. The developers intend to create 2 lots from an existing 37.178 acre parcel. The minimum lot size proposed is 12.036 acres, and the maximum lot size proposed is 25.142 acres. The required preliminary review fee of $1,700 and the weed inspection fee of $200 have both been paid. The developer is requesting a variance from Appendix M of the Broadwater County Subdivision Regulations for Lot 1 and a variance from MDEQ for Lot 2. The variance requests are included in the preliminary plat application as item number 1. The proposed preliminary plat, Bridger Brewing West Minor Subdivision, as submitted by the applicants, together with the required supplementary plans and information, appear to satisfy the requirements of these regulations and comply with the Broadwater County Growth Policy Plan dated July 2020. A vicinity map, as well as a preliminary plat, is provided in the preliminary plat application. No rock outcroppings or the presence of bedrock have been identified on the property. The proposed development is not in an area subject to flood hazard. Each lot will be served by the future Wheatland Water and Sewer District, and no on-site wastewater systems or wells will be installed. Lot owners will be responsible for disposal of their own solid waste. Subdivision residents will have the option of hiring an independent contractor to pick up their solid waste or transport it themselves to the Logan landfill. There are no existing drainages on the proposed subdivision property. The current use of this parcel is vacant land. This property is not considered prime farmland, even if it were irrigated. Therefore, the proposed subdivision should not have an effect on agricultural productivity, since it is not currently utilized for any agricultural purposes. The responsibility to maintain boundary fences will be the individual landowners. The developer will be required to control any noxious weeds until the property is turned over to the subsequent landowners. Since this is a first minor subdivision, an environmental assessment is not required. No falls, slides, or slumps, or adverse soil, rock, mud, or snow have been identified on the property. No rock outcroppings have been identified either. The property is located within the Intermountain Seismic Belt that extends through western Montana and frequently produces small earthquakes and has previously developed some major earthquakes. Property damage and risk can be minimized with construction techniques and earthquake planning. There are no marsh, shrub, or forest lands located on the property. There are no trees or vegetation cover. Existing vegetation consists of light native grasses and some prickly pear cactus. No critical plant species have been identified. Existing vegetation will only be disturbed for necessary construction of driveways, utilities, and structures. Any construction disturbance will be reseeded with an approved grass seed mix. A weed management plan is in the process of being developed with assistance by the Broadwater County Weed Coordinator to control and prevent the growth of noxious weeds. Wildlife such as antelope, deer, upland game birds, other small birds, snakes, rabbits, fox, and coyote occasionally utilize the proposed subdivision. However, the use is infrequent due to the lack of cover in prime feeding areas, as well as the close proximity to nearby commercial and residential development and a busy highway. Therefore, the impacts to wildlife should be minimal. A cultural resource inventory was performed by the Montana Historical Society on September 3, 2020, to determine if there are any known historical, cultural, or archaeological sites which may be affected by the proposed development. According to the Montana Cultural Resource Information Systems, there have been no previously identified areas of historical significance. However, if cultural materials are found during construction, MHS will be notified. Access to the lots will be off of U.S. Highway 287. The approach permit must be approved prior to final plat approval. Utility service will be provided by Northwestern Energy. Natural gas service is not currently available. The proposed subdivision is in the Three Forks Fire District jurisdiction. The distance from the City of Three Forks Fire Hall to the subdivision is approximately 4.5 miles. The developer's representative sent a letter to the Three Forks District Chief on August 17, 2020. To date, a response from the fire department has not been received. The Broadwater County Sheriff's Department will provide law enforcement services. The Sheriff's Department is located approximately 30 miles from the proposed subdivision. The Three Forks Ambulance Service, located in Three Forks, will provide both ambulance and emergency medical services to the subdivision residents. The proposed subdivision is served by the Three Forks schools. The potential for new students from this development will not be a factor, since the lots are proposed to be used for commercial and industrial purposes only. Lands to the north is residential subdivision and commercial. Lands to the west are agricultural and commercial. Lands to the south are commercial, and lands to the east are agricultural. The property is bordered on the east by the heavily traveled U.S. Highway 287. This could potentially pose a serious risk to the safety of the subdivision residents. Since this is a minor subdivision, no parkland dedication is required pursuant to 763609.3 MCA. It is hereby ordered that the preliminary plat for Bridger Brewing West Minor Subdivision is approved, subject to the conditions listed below. Final plat approval shall be contingent upon completion and compliance with these conditions. Number 1, prior to any development and/or soil disturbance, a weed management plan for the proposed development shall be submitted to the County Weed District for review and approval. Number 2, prior to any development, approach permits shall be requested from the Montana Department of Transportation. Number 3, the applicant will be required to submit the preliminary and final plat drawings in electronic format to Broadwater County in ArcGIS, AutoCAD, or MicroStation format. Additional materials may be requested by the county in electronic format to facilitate review of application materials. Number 4, plans for the location and installation of individual mailboxes shall be reviewed and approved by the United States Postal Service prior to installation. Number 5, the developer must show evidence of zoning for the proposed development prior to final plat approval. Provide evidence for MCA applicability to this zoning district. Number 6, the applicant and the Fire Protection Authority having jurisdiction shall use their best efforts to draft a fire protection plan specifically for this subdivision in accordance with Broadwater County subdivision regulations. The plan should be equally acceptable to the FPHJ, the applicant, and the county governing authority. The plan shall adequately address the fire risk analysis, all findings of fact, and appropriate mitigation measures. In the event the parties are unable to come to agreement by the final plat submittal, the applicant shall become eligible to provide the per lot cash in lieu fee for water supply as may be defined in the Broadwater County subdivision regulations in effect at the time of submittal. Number 7, the book and page reference to the restrictive covenants filed with the county clerk and recorder shall be indicated on the face of the final plat. In addition, restrictive covenants, revocable or alterable only with the consent of the Board of County Commissioners, shall be placed upon the property and shall provide for the following. A, per the subdivision application, all lots shall be used for commercial or industrial purposes only. B, notification of the potential health risk from radon concentrations and that such risk can be evaluated through soil tests and mitigated through radon abatement techniques incorporated into structures. C, a notification that all units within the subdivision should be constructed to specifications which meet or exceed equivalent provisions in the applicable state building code for this seismic zone, which is Zone 3. D, notification of the potential degradation of existing emergency services due to the potential for growth in a rural area. E, any additional replacement or relocated utility lines shall be installed underground in accordance with county subdivision regulations unless otherwise determined by the utility provided. F, any exterior lighting shall be directed downward to minimize visibility beyond the property lines. G, notification of the presence of agricultural operations in the vicinity. H, a waiver of the right to protest to join a special district for the purpose of providing community water and or wastewater treatment system improvements and or maintenance. I, a restrictive covenant binding the landowner, any heirs, successors, and assigns, and all future owners of property within the subdivision, agreeing therein to hold Broadwater County harmless and indemnify Broadwater County from all claims, demands, obligations, suits, causes of action, damages, and liability, including the county's costs and attorney's fees arising in any manner whatsoever out of or relating to the existence, use, operation, repair, and or maintenance of the following. Sub-item 1, earthquake fault zone and any seismic activity, and number 2, water availability. J, each lot shall be maintained in a clean, attractive, and weed-free manner. Noxious weeds must be pulled, sprayed, or cut prior to seed maturity. K, a prohibition of the storage of foods, garbage, or continuous feeding of domestic pets outdoors or other activities that creates an attractive nuisance for wildlife species. Hay or alfalfa storage and feeding are not prohibited where livestock are permitted. L, lots shall only allow for livestock if a small acreage livestock management plan is reviewed and approved by the county extension agent and submitted to the county. Each lot owner shall be required to create and adhere to their own livestock management plan. M, all cats and dogs must be restrained, penned, or otherwise under the control of their owner at all times. N, address numbers shall be clearly marked at the driveway entrance to each lot and be easily identified from the road. Number 8, prior to filing the final plat, the following improvements shall be installed or otherwise guaranteed. A, any necessary improvements required by the stormwater drainage plan, weed management plan, fire protection plan, or approach permits. And B, utilities abutting and available to each lot, electrical and telephone, shall be underground unless otherwise determined by the utility provided. If said improvements are not installed prior to final plat, then the applicant shall enter into a written subdivision improvements agreement with Broadwater County guaranteeing the construction and installation of such improvements and shall provide an acceptable financial security guarantee in accordance with County Subdivision Regulations Appendix E. 9, prior to filing the final plat, the applicant shall A, provide proof that all taxes and special assessments assessed and levied on the property are paid for the current tax year, including any past delinquencies, and B, Provide documentation, an abstract of title or platting certificate, showing that the applicant is the lawful owner of the property with the apparent authority to subdivide the same, showing the names of lien holders or claimants of record and the written consent to the subdivision by the owners of the land, if other than the applicant, and any lien holders or claimants of record against the land. The applicant is financially responsible for actual outside engineering, consulting, professional and/or contracted service fees, etc., at the sole discretion of the county for additional review and/or final plat approval of the proposed subdivision. Preliminary plat approval of Bridger Brewing West minor subdivision shall be enforced for 3 calendar years. At the end of this period, the governing body may, at the request of the subdivider, extend its approval for a mutually agreed upon period of time. Any mutually agreed upon extension must be in writing and dated and signed by the members of the governing body and the subdivider or subdivider's agent. The governing body may issue more than one extension. A party as defined by 763625 MCA who is aggrieved by a decision of the governing body may, within 30 days after this decision, appeal to the Broadwater County District Court. So first, I would like to bring your attention to the addendum, separate document that I'd given you this morning. So this is for zoning clarification on this property. Previously, in the application, it was noted that there was no zoning. However, we know that to be untrue in the sense that the TED district, the Wheatland TED, does cover this area. So what the consultant has provided is a clarification and an addendum to the application, so clarifying the zoning. And as you can see, I'm not going to go over this entire document, and I'll read the clarification portion of this just for the public. And it states, the original subdivision application packet that was submitted to Broadwater County stated that the above property was located outside of any zoning district. The statement was overlooked and was incorrect. The above property is located at the Wheatland Area Zoning District. This zoning district was specifically created to assist in the development of the Wheatland Water and Sewer District, Utility District. In order to form the Utility District, a targeted economic development district was created. A requirement of the TED is to create a zoning district within the TED. So as you can see here, there's an entire list of uses. It's more important to view on the second page, page 2, prohibited uses, dwelling units. And we've all been involved with the TED zoning district process. We know that to be true. This development is not proposing any residential or dwelling units. So it does fit with the zoning of that area. Before you begin any further discussion, I did have a conversation with Jania this morning. She has not had an opportunity to view this application, as will be our standard practice moving forward. I will loop her in prior or at the same time as handing off these documents to the planning board so that she will have plenty of time to view them. But at this time, she has not had an opportunity to view these documents.
All right, so do we need to approve this addendum separately, or how does that work?
Not necessarily. This is
Okay.
mostly for information purposes. You
Okay.
don't need to approve the addendum. You just need to recognize it. If you have questions on it, certainly now is a good time to bring those up. But it really just clarifies that portion of the application that states no zoning.
On H, the waiver to protest the special district for the purposes of providing community water and wastewater. Don't a lot of our other applications have the language in there that include the RIDs and things like that? Is that something that we want to consider there or not?
We certainly could. If you would like me to add that as a commission-required covenant, I certainly could.
Yeah.
And I don't know that language off the top of my head, but we do have standard
We
language
do.
that
Mhm.
I could certainly
Are
put
you
in there.
familiar with the
Mhm,
language?
yep.
What do you guys think? Do you think that's something that's important to be in there?
I would think so, yes.
Is it typically in here?
Um,
Or has been in the past?
This is a little bit different
Yeah.
situation. It deals mostly with the commercial industrial end of our TED district, but I guess I'm just trying to look into the future. If there was some improvements that needed to be there, I don't know if I'd want there to be an opportunity for them to not have to participate.
okay.
Mike,
Mr. Chairman, there's a question.
Yes.
you'll have to stand, and maybe we can use this other microphone right here, maybe.
Or you can have this spot if you want, Bill, and I'll step over here.
Bill Dreyer, Alpine. Just to help with that clarification, we are in a improvement district within that TED,
Mhm.
but I can see where that might help on a road,
Yep.
some road districts or emergency service districts. So,
That's
yeah,
fine.
we could definitely put that on the plat,
Yeah.
waiver of right to protest
Yeah.
for any special improvements or rural
Perfect.
improvement districts.
That's kind of where I was going with that.
Okay.
So thank you. Mhm.
I didn't know if you guys are done with Nicole or?
Just really fast. So I have not had a chance to review this, as Nicole mentioned.
Right.
So I guess I would request if you would want me to review it a little bit of time, in order to be able to review it.
Okay.
I had a couple items I just wanted to help clarify a little bit. The reason we submitted the addendum is the planning board meeting. The main topic was the TED discussion. There was some confusion on the property record from the state of Montana. It calls it out, let me take this off real quick.
Yep.
It calls it out as a TIF, but the state uses a TIF and the TED on their descriptions the same way. So it is a TED district out there. We don't have a TIF district out there,
Right.
so.
I think it's the TED district, but it's being paid for with TIF funds in order to, what's the word I'm looking for, to help it grow.
Yep.
To help provide for the infrastructure. That's the purpose of the TIF funds.
Sure. Yep, exactly.
Yep.
So, and you guys are probably more well-versed in this whole TED district out there. I came in later on it, but I'm here to answer any questions on that. I just wanted to address the two variances we do have. The one variance from, Appendix M is set up a lot for on-site water and wastewater. We are tying into the sewer district out there. The sewer district, and this will cover a couple items. On the fire side of it, the sewer district has a reuse line out there. So all the treated wastewater, it's the treated wastewater, gets sent back out and is used for irrigation, fire supply, and flushing toilets and urinals in all the businesses. So that reuse line covers that fire supply water that we try to address in each of the subdivisions, and that will be part of the fire plan
Okay.
with the fire district.
Good. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a question that I had, because I remember reading this appendix. And then I look at number 6 here, and it says in the event that we can't come to some type of agreement, that there's the option to pay the in lieu fee. And I don't see that working with this fire plan.
And And we could definitely work with the county and the fire department to come to an agreement on that, and whether we have to pay fees out until that fire line's in place, we can definitely do that. There's some other, as you guys are aware, this whole area is looking at a bigger development, commercial, and as we expand out, the fire, police protection, or sheriff and emergency use protection is going to all be part of this whole area out there. So, so the second variance is for the 20-acre lot, and that is Lot 1. And we do have an exemption on the plat from DEQ. That lot will be further subdivided in the future as well. And Lot 2 has an exemption on it that no building facilities will be constructed until it gets reviewed by DEQ. So since we are tying into the water and sewer district, we put that exemption on there because we cannot get DEQ to sign off until there's substantial completion of that construction of the sewer district. So that just, it's kind of a fail-safe for you guys that no construction will be started until DEQ reviews that.
So currently, lot number 2's access, well, and lot number 1, both, is that one access point there that's halfway down on the west side of the road, is that correct?
And I'll clarify that. Lot number 1, actually, we did, part of this application, we did get an access off of Wheatland Road for Lot 1.
Yep.
And in the future development, that road will loop out.
Loop out there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's kind of the next portion coming in after this one gets pushed through. So I do have Craig Rickards here. He's the future owner and stakeholder in this whole area out there. If you guys have any questions, he's here to answer questions as well.
Well, I know that there is some future development plan there, and we probably really don't know at this time how that's all going to look as far as for what the Department of Transportation's role will be in and helping to develop some of those access points and things like that.
Sure. In our discussions with the Highway Department is any access off of 287, that's a controlled access out there anyway, so it's pretty tough to go in and just get an access off 287. So any development, whether it's a subdivision or any commercial business, anything going in out there has to be reviewed by systems impacts up at MDT. So they'll look at widening of the highway, they'll look at turn lanes, and they'll look potentially of speed limit reductions through there. So that's all stuff that gets put on their plate.
Another question, this might be for you, Nicole. If so, Lot 1, we've heard this probably will be subdivided again.
Potentially.
Eventually in the future. We'll have to go back through this same process again.
Yep.
That is correct.
And the owner of Lot 1 has, after we get this done, that's basically the next project coming into you guys in the near future.
Okay.
I'll recap on the water sewer system. The owners and the engineers, WWC is their engineers for that water sewer system out there. They want to break ground by the end of next month. It's getting pushed through pretty quick up at DEQ, so they've got a pretty quick timetable on that.
Good. I guess, anything that you feel that you could inform us on in that would be helpful for us in making our future decisions as well.
Okay.
How that's progressing and.
Yeah, it's, this process started, 2 years ago?
I think even longer than that.
Yeah.
I think I just kind of got in on the very end of when it was, so. Yeah, you guys have been working on it before that, huh, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And I came in about a year ago, and, you know, it was push, wait, and a lot of grant issues.
Mhm.
But now, there's a lot of funding, and Craig's here too. He's been involved with some of these meetings,
Okay.
but it's gonna go.
Okay, all right.
So Commissioners, with that being said, you do have 2 variance applications in front of you. Before you make any motions on this development, you will have to approve the variance. Reflecting back on Jania's statement, if you do want her to take a look at this, we will need a little more time. I know you're not meeting next Monday, so it would not be until April 5th that this would be able to be back on the agenda. Understanding that the developer's deadline for approval on this is March 31st. However, since it was on last Monday's agenda and postponed at the request of the developer, I think we are fair in asking for a minimum of a 2-week extension from the developer. So there's a couple of options for you there. If you choose to make your recommendation today, just know that Jania has not had an opportunity to review this, which you have the latitude to make that decision today. If you wish to have her review it, since the commissioners will not be meeting next week, you will be gone at conference, it will not be until April 5th. You will need to request, I would suggest, a minimum of a 2-week extension from the developer. But I believe your request would be warranted, given circumstances.
Okay.
And although these variance requests are similar in their nature, the reason that you have 2 of them, one of these parcels is greater than 20 acres, so the requirement to complete Appendix M of our subdivision regulations, essentially it's the sanitarians checklist, is the variance request, and the second variance request is from submitting to DEQ. But Mr. Dreyer gave their reasons there, so.
I guess I'd like to hear from the developer.
Certainly.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Craig Rickert, and looking at potentially the 12-acre parcel here. We've had this application, looking at this area, and boy, you guys have done a lot of work on the tax increment financing district, which in rural Montana is a TED district, which you guys have done a really good job on. I live in Bozeman. I'm here in the state because I have my son, grandson, 3 grandsons and daughter-in-law living here. I've been a commercial real estate developer for 30 years, and I like this Three Forks area, and you answered it actually quite well. I'm hoping something can happen here, but there's a lot of entitlements that have to be completed before something else can happen. Part of my work over my lifetime as my largest client was actually Walmart. I did 45 sites for them, of which I did the Bozeman, Helena, Great Falls, Kalispell, a bunch of those, and have been to many of these meetings and trying to get the retailers and the community on the same page. So again, I appreciate all the work that you put into this, and glad to answer any questions you have.
Okay. I guess one of my first ones is, if we do make this request for a 2-week extension, is that going to throw you off badly?
You're asking me the
I
question.
am asking.
You're asking me the question. I will answer you. So we've had this application in for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And because this, that, the other thing, and the other thing, and the other thing. Yes, it does. It's more of a hardship. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go through, but I'm answering your question. I really appreciate you asking that question.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my answer.
Are you currently involved with the wastewater treatment
I'm
development?
glad you asked that question. Bill and I just drove up here, turning the corner, and they've started construction on the brewery.
Okay.
Okay? The brewery needs the wastewater treatment. They wouldn't get bankers to agree to it and all the people involved if they weren't getting really close on that. And like I said, I've been doing this. I've had my own company for 30 years, and sewer and water is the backbone of development. And so approving your TIF has made this area, I've already got people that are interested, good services, I believe. I'm a developer, obviously, listen to my words. I mean, understand who I am and where this is coming from, but I believe good development will help this area, and I have people that are interested, so.
Okay. Okay. I don't know, do you guys have any, what are you thinking?
Well, this question is for Nicole. Have we had these addendums, have we had these on any previous applications? And if we have they gone through legal to be approved, or have we just gone through the planning board? What I'm thinking is that I don't have a problem with Jenny approving or going through these, but at the time that they submitted the application, was that the policy? Was to have legal go through what we're looking to approve here, or were we just going with the planning board and the commissioners?
So this is new, that I will be consulting with Jania to at least give her the opportunity and the option to review. So it typically will not postpone anything in the timeline, but this is new, that we will be utilizing legal services, Broadwater County Legal Counsel, to also be reviewing the subdivisions. But again, since this is a new position, a new process for the county. So typically it was only the planning board and the commissioners. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so I would assume that since, or let me get this word this properly. I think that since the application was put in before we instituted this, then are we on good legal standings to now say that, well, we're at the end of the process, but now we want legal to take a look at it because this is our new process. So can we inflict the new process on the old on the timeline of the old application?
I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jania, because I heard the word legal in there, and I'm not.
Nicole, could you come up to the microphone?
I sure can. I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah, here's one.
Okay. I'm just going to sit here if that's okay.
That's fine.
So typically, we would not be requesting an extension for her to review. Typically, I like to give the commissioners 2 opportunities to look at a development. This is an atypical month. This is an atypical situation. This was on the agenda for the commissioners to have your first look at it last Monday. The developer requested to postpone because he was not available, which is understandable.
The landowner,
The landowner, I'm sorry.
not me.
Sorry. The landowner had requested a postponement at the 11th hour, which, reflecting back to your agenda, I think we're all aware of that. It was posted on the agenda, but we did not meet at the request of the landowner. So now here we are today. This would have been the second opportunity for you to look at it. This would have given you that second week. Next Monday, again, atypical, the commissioners are gone for the week at conference. So we're kind of in this position of, if we had met last week, you would have had last week and this week to be able to give it over to legal counsel. If you were not gone to conference, we would still be under the timeline, so we'd still be fine. Things happen, and here we are. So I don't know that this is necessarily a new process. Well, it is a new process. As far as the legal side of it, that's where I'm going to toss the ball to Jania to give her response. And I'm going to switch you seats.
Yeah, we can. Thank you. So this is Jania Hatfield, Deputy County Attorney. I'm going to take off my mask for a second here. So as you all know, I am new to this position and new to what's going on. But I guess what I would say is, since I have not reviewed those documents, I cannot tell you or give any kind of legal advice on what's going on in that subdivision request. And what I have been told is, once we get past this preliminaries, like once we grant a preliminary, it's much more difficult to change anything after that point. And so if you're wanting me to look over it, if you're wanting it to be reviewed by the legal counsel, then we would need to do it, I would strongly encourage, before you grant it. So does that answer your question?
Well, my question is that since we instituted the process, like last week we instituted the process, but they put the application in 3 months ago. So, and normally with subdivision rules, if you make a change, it has to be advertised and it has to be, publicized that you're going to make that change, and then you make the change and it becomes effectual. But it doesn't go retroactive back to priorly submitted applications. So that's what I'm asking is are we okay? And okay, this is a 3-month-old application, but now we're adding a new step to the process.
I think that's a good question. I honestly, I don't know the answer to that because I have not looked at that particular requirement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me make a quick comment too. Since Lot 1 will be further subdivided, we're only creating one additional lot here. We'll have another bite at the apple in the future. We're not looking at a big time development going through here if we decide not to do the legal side of it, so.
Right, that's a good point. Thanks, Bill.
Also, I'll say, I haven't talked to Nicole about this yet, but I have contracted more property in the area and interested in doing more development too. So certainly can look through everything that we bring through with your attorney.
Okay, good. I guess this is just me. I'm comfortable at this point with proceeding to approve these variances at this time.
Is that a motion?
I'm just talking. I don't know how you guys, I want to know how you guys feel about doing that.
I would be comfortable with going ahead and approving.
I think our process that we know going forward is going to change, and Ginny will have an opportunity to review that. Bill brings up a good point. This is just one lot out of that. I think going forward, we kind of know what the process is going to be, right? So,
Considering it's just the one lot, I'm comfortable with.
all right, good. Nicole?
It is absolutely your preference.
All right. Did you see anything in these variances that were a red flag to you?
Nothing,
Okay.
no, sir.
Okay.
No, so just.
I didn't either. I mean, I'd look it over and, you know, to me, it seems like it kind of helps facilitate the thing a little bit quicker for them, so, without bending the law or the regulations that we need to go by, so. I guess with that, I would make the motion to approve the 2 variance requests for the Bridger Brewer Mining West Minor subdivision.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Motion been made and second to approve both variance applications for the Bridger Brewing West Minor subdivision. Is there any further discussion? Any public comment?
No.
Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pros, same. Motion carries.
That was the right process, right?
That is. If it was not, I would have told you.
Okay. Okay.
So our next step is to approve the preliminary plat for the Bridger Brewing West Minor subdivision.
So my question is on those items that Bill and I discussed, would that change be made for the final?
Well, this is the final. I'm sorry, this is the preliminary, and I'm sorry, if you're looking to change a condition, it would need to be done prior to final.
Okay. Because, you know, there was, yeah, we talked about some stuff as far as for adding in the RID.
See if I have that language in the next one, that maybe I can read into the record, but without having it verbatim, I'm not comfortable reading something directly from memory. Okay, I have something here, and I think this is what you're referring to, Commissioner. It states, a waiver of right to protest joining a rural improvement or maintenance district for the purpose of road maintenance, mosquito control, or equitably funding parks and maintenance of parks.
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Is that something that you can agree to?
Yeah. Shall be placed on the final plan.
That's correct. It will be in addition to the commission required covenants.
Yeah. Do you want it on the face of the plat, or does that, you want it in that?
It has been on the face of the plat, I believe, in the past.
Typically, it is on the plat. We don't have a requirement for that.
No.
It's mostly just been the surveyor's preference.
Mhm.
So,
I just
We've
think,
done that quite a bit.
yeah, I think it's good business. Okay. I guess that was my only other real concern. The other one was just a talking point, I guess, on the fire plan. As it, appendix M. And I think that is the plan that they are gonna put in the fire system, right? Hydrants and that type of stuff, yeah. Okay. Do you guys want to remove that part from number 6, or do you want to leave it in there? That last part of number 6. I guess part of that discussion was, is something you could use in the interim until that system was developed. Is that what you were thinking, Bill?
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of heartburn about it. We're gonna have the fill site, I don't know, or the hydrants, the actual hydrants out there.
Right.
If we wanna keep that in place for, I guess, security until, that system's up and running,
Okay.
maybe that would be the way to handle that,
Are you talking about a completed building? A completed building would need fire, a foundation would not.
Yeah, that's true.
if I may, Commissioners, I think it would actually be to the benefit of the developer as well as the commission to leave that statement in there.
Okay.
In the event the fire board wanted to have the complete system before they would approve it, there's no outlet or opportunity for the developer to do anything other than meet that condition.
Okay.
So really, it's a safety measure for them. If the fire board says we are only going to give our approval to this development if that entire fire system is in.
At what time?
At time of final plat approval. I'm not saying they would, this is theoretically speaking. So if we were to leave that statement in there, in the event the parties are unable to come to agreement, that puts it back on this commission to say, okay, fire board is requesting one thing, developer is offering another. You have the decision to move forward, as opposed to having them have to sit
Right.
and
Sounds good. And then we'd have to determine what type of system that we would need.
Correct.
Okay. All right,
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
I think it's a safeguard for everyone, but more of a safeguard for the developer.
Okay, very good.
I would be in favor of leaving it in.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions.
I don't have anything else. Do you have anything, Debbie?
Nope.
So I guess we will entertain a motion to approve the preliminary plat approval of the Bridger Brewing West Minor subdivision.
I would so move.
Is there a second?
I would like to make a friendly amendment to that we include
sorry.
the language in, is it 7H, condition 7H, to include that RID language that we just discussed.
Okay.
And I would like to amend your friendly amendment,
Okay.
if I may, and have it be a separate standalone covenant. I think it gives it
Okay,
more weight.
okay. All right.
So it would become 7I, and we would move I down, and so on and so forth.
Okay, all right. All right.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I think the amending party has to
Oh, yes.
accept the
I
friendly
would
amendment.
accept that amendment to the motion.
Okay, so the motion's been made and amended. Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
And second. So the motion's been made, amended, and seconded to approve the preliminary plat approval Bridger Brewing, West Minor Subdivision. Any further discussion? Any public comment?
Nope.
Take a vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
Let's go forth and do good things down there, huh?
Quick question for the commission. We were talking about the fire, the emergency service, and we were going to set up a meeting with the commission. I didn't know if that had to be a public meeting, just to discuss the future emergency services out there.
Yep. Do you want to answer that, Mike, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it would have to be a public meeting,
Okay,
and we would entertain that sooner than later.
okay,
Because I just feel that that's going to be important for you guys and for that community down there to try to get that done as soon as we can.
okay.
And,
So I'll get with you, Nicole, and CC you guys
yeah.
on it and get something set up. All right?
All right, thanks for
Thank
taking
you,
the time to
gentlemen.
come up.
Thank you.
Pleasure to
Thanks for
meet you.
coming up.
Thank you.
You bet.
You're sedentary. I think I can catch you.
Okay.
Good
Next
discussion.
up, Dry Gulch Acres Track B, subsequent minor.
Nicole.
I sent you all an article on budgeting for local governments, talks about different types. It'll give you that head start on the philosophy discussion and the goals discussion. It's about 12 pages.
Thank you.
It should be in your email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bill, thanks for coming down.
Thank you, Bill.
Pleasure. Look forward to working.
Look forward to working with you as well. All right, and we'll do some good things.
Thank you.
Sam.
Oh, do you already have that? Okay, I didn't.
I made a copy.
I don't. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Yes, we do. Yeah. Right there.
A lot of papers.
So you all should have your submittal books, it appears. You have your findings of fact and order report. And before I get into the findings of fact and order, I just want to discuss these covenants briefly. Don't recall which item number the covenants are, so give me a moment here. Okay. So item number 13 in your submittal book is the existing, or at the time of submittal, the existing covenants for the Dry Gulch Acres subdivision, which this is a subsequent development this is a subsequent split of one of the lots in the original Dry Gulch Acres subdivision. So if you look at item number, sorry, I don't have this marked. I believe it's 4-4. Okay. Item number 4-2-13 of the previously recorded Dry Gulch Acres minor subdivision covenants states no lot shall be subdivided, split, altered, or reduced in size or in any way or manner whatsoever. So, that was not discovered until later. The developer, the original developer, came in and filed amended covenants on this development, which states Article 4-2-13 is hereby deleted in its entirety, which is now allowing these developers to move forward with further subdividing this parcel in the Dry Gulch Acres subdivision. Does that make sense? I hope I've explained that enough. Okay. So, moving on from that.
And I'm guessing since Brad Campbell is still the majority landowner, he can make this amendment?
He is not the majority landowner, he was the original developer.
Okay.
And I don't know what the covenants state as far as further development, or as far as amending the covenants. So maybe we'll have to look at that as well. We may have to get further signature.
Thought I marked that, but
Okay.
I
The
can't.
covenants may be amended as follows. So during the declarant control period. So when is the declarant control period? No, you know what? These will need to be amended by the landowners at this point. If I can draw your attention to definitions. So still in item number 13 of the preliminary plat application, definitions 1-4. Declarant control period shall mean the period beginning on the date these covenants are first recorded in the office of the clerk and recorder of Broadwater County and ending on the date on which all lots have been sold by declarant and dwellings have been constructed upon and or occupied on all lots, as determined solely by the declarant.
Yeah.
So the lots have been sold. There are only 2 lots in this development.
Okay.
One lot is owned by this landowner. The other lot is owned by her father. But to be fair, it does state that the covenants can only be amended, and we typically don't get into covenants like this.
Yeah, right.
But it does state that the covenants can only be amended by the declarant during the declarant control period, which seemingly has passed since both parcels have transferred. The other option is by the owners after the declarant control period, which this is treading into legal waters, but common sense tells me that it should be amended by the owners.
That's what I'm thinking.
If you'd like me to.
Yes.
I guess what I would say to that is I don't have them in front of me, and I have not had a chance to look at that, but I do. It seems like maybe we should look into this issue before we move forward on this to make sure that we're doing this correct.
Yep.
I agree.
Okay.
So with that being said,
April 5th?
April 5th, can I be back on your agenda?
I also think there's time on this when we won't run into the deadline.
That's correct. The deadline on this development is April 5th, which doesn't give you 2 opportunities to look at it, but we can request that extension because of the amendments to these covenants. So, and yeah, you most likely would have basis for that request.
So we will table that until April 5th.
And I will talk to the developer about amending those appropriately with the appropriate signatures. Okay?
Is that our last agenda item?
Uh-huh.
That was our last agenda. item.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so we got mail here. Let's see, we have,
Thank you.
thank
Thanks,
you, Nicole. Have, minutes from March 15th, 2021.
I'll move to approve the minutes of March 15th, 2021.
Is there a
Second on motion?
motion been made and second to approve minutes for March 15th, 2021? Any further comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. We have payroll claims in the amount of $166,699.90.
I'll move to pay payroll in the amount of $166,699.90.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and second to decide claims and set them out. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, mail. This is from Canyon Ferry Lake KOA. Formal request to obtain a copy of the Silos Recreation Area Manager's RFP submitted by Canyon Enterprises in January 2021. DEQ seasonal startup procedural reminder for the Silos Recreation Area. DEQ public notice for wastewater discharge for Westmoreland Rosebud Mining LLC, Rosebud Mine, Rosebud County. Montana Public Employee Retirement Administration. Penalties tied to late receivables. Evidently, this is something that took place about 6 years ago or somewhere in that vicinity, and they have addressed it repeatedly. I guess we will address it again from Debbie Kelly. Advertisement for the Three Forks Voice weekly newspaper and the Cat magazine. That's it for mail. Is there anything else brought before the commission?
I don't have anything.
I would just say if any citizens are interested in getting involved in this, whatever we're calling the Community Citizens Action Group for the budget,
Yep.
to
Yeah.
email us.
Yeah, we've had one response
I
so
think
far.
so, yeah.
Yep.
So email one of us or all of us. And
We're looking for 5 people.
I think 5. If we can
Okay.
get 5, that would be good.
And we'll have to have that initial meeting with Bill, and then we'll go to that, form the committee. We can form the committee at any time we get enough people, and then we'll have an initial meeting with Bill, and then we'll have a meeting with that budget people, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm thinking.
So it's another opportunity to the public to get involved in the budget process and understand where spending comes from and where it goes to. So any help we can get would be appreciated.
Yep.
Send a letter of interest to Nicole Brown at Broadwater County Planning.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything else? We will adjourn.
Well, I guess one thing to remind everybody, we're still in the naming contest for this building. So please, if you have a great name that you think would fit for this building, send it our way.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we will adjourn at 11:39.
Thank you. All right, Jessica's gonna come shut us down.
yes, all right.
Thank you. Thank you for filling in. Janaea, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
coming over. It's nice to have you here for some of these discussions.